Okay, seems like we are live. Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning, Mike.
Good
Good
morning.
morning, Mayur. How are you guys doing?
Hey, folks,
I'm doing good. Yeah, thank
I'm
you.
ready to go.
Amazing. We'll give some couple of minutes for the audience to join the session.
Sure.
So yeah, let's do that. Meanwhile, you remember, guys, I have a very close connection with the supply chain and logistics industry. Sometimes I feel like uh, logistics is more like my destiny because uh, when I was still graduating, I got my very first gig uh, from one of the supply chain companies, and my task was to actually uh, manually convert the rate sheets, which used to come at that time in like PDF formats, in like JPG formats, and various other formats, making them and converting them into a structured format like an Excel, which by the way nowadays bots do very well. But that was my very first exposure to logistics. Got like this was when I was still into college. Uh, in fact, even when I graduated, I got my very first job into one of the logistics tech startups. Again into
Oh,
logistics, and yeah, after that I joined Accelerate. Thought like I'm done with logistics because at that time I used to feel okay. Uh, this industry is very different. Okay, and it surely
lot.
is. Now I feel like in a positive way. Okay, but still, when I joined Accelerate, few of my colleagues from my logistics time, I used to help them here and there, and now. Uh, Finally, we are having this webinar. And by the way, Mike knows it very well. We have been planning for this session since the past 4 months, but it is only happening now when we finally decided that we're going to be talking about supply chain. So
Yes.
I feel it's a destiny, I would say, for me at least, that I'm moderating. And by the way, this is my very first webinar. Until now, I have been on the background all of the times. So super exciting for me, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy how things come full circle. Um,
Yeah.
you know, in my career that I've done and been on one side of the table or the other, and now to be in a position to help, multiple people across multiple areas, it's sometimes it's kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
I must say, Satvik, logistic domain is not leaving you in Accelerate as well.
I would say that. I would say that. So I was thinking about this just last night, and yeah, it just stuck to me. Anyways, anyways, uh, I believe most of our audience would have joined. Can someone please uh, give us an intimation if you can hear us well? Just give us a thumbs up if you can hear us well, and if you can see us really well, if our video is streaming well. So just give us a thumbs up on that. And guys, let's get into the party.
Yeah, we're ready.
Amazing. So, for everyone who are joined right now, good morning, everyone. And thanks a lot for joining us today for this session. We all know supply chain enterprises have really spent a lot on tech in the past decade. Yet, despite all of this, many organizations are still grappling with manual and fragmented processes. And that's exactly what we are here to talk about today. The next wave of transformation isn't just about automation. Automation had been there since almost a decade now, since we saw OCR and RPA coming in. But now it's more about building a digital workforces that would be resilient, intelligence, and adapt into the supply chain operations. I'm super excited to be moderating this session alongside two of my very dear colleagues, Mike Tucker and Mayur. They both bring years of hands-on experience in designing and scaling intelligent automation across supply chains. Together, we are all going to be bridging both the business and technical perspectives, including some real-world use cases like demand forecasting, inventory management, order processing, and of course, the most important one, shipment tracking.
Shipment tracking. Yeah.
Yeah. So whether you are a supply chain CIO or a transformation leader, you are someone into IT, or you are just an operations executive, or in fact, someone just driving digital change within logistics, this session is built for you.
Correct.
And I can give you a lot of insights to act on. That being said, let's dive in and explore how enterprises can move one step closer to building a self driven supply chain. Mike, why don't you give a brief introduction of yours to our audience?
Sure. Thanks for the introduction, Safwick. I'm Mike Booker. I'm one of our senior directors here at Accelerate. Over my tenure here and really over a good chunk of my career, I've had an excellent privilege of working with multiple in initiatives within the supply chain in and around it. I've got a chance to meet with companies all the way from Fortune 50, Fortune 5, even down to some of the downstream players that really, enable in mobility and management. And where we sit at Accelerate is we're at the crux of supply chain strategy and intelligent automation. So no matter where you are, I think we can provide lots of value. And as we continue to move into this digital shift, having someone like us, alongside with you in that journey can be excellent. So again, thanks for being here and looking forward to the dialogue.
Thank you, Mike. Mayur, would you like to take a moment, please?
Sure, sure. First of all, thank you, Satvik, for arranging this, webinar. Also, I was waiting for a long time for this webinar, and
Yeah.
um so my name is Mayur Sakhare, and I'm currently leading a RPA team in Accelerate. It's been 4 years now. I've been Accelerate, and I started my RPA journey from Accelerate only. Total, I have 7.5 years of experience, and the most exciting thing is currently I am handling the many projects, and in that we just newly received one. The project is works in supply chain, so it's really exciting compared to another domain. And that's why I want to participate in this webinar to share the information how we handle and all the thing. So that's my introduction. Thank you, Satvik. Thanks.
Sounds interesting. Sounds interesting. So, without wasting any more time, let's move to our session today. I quickly go to the next one. Okay, so the most important thing, why supply chains are at a breaking point. See, supply chains face structural disruptions, and we all know that, be it global geopolitical shifts, tariffs, of course, and climate risk, they are ingrained somehow in today's supply chain ecosystem. And almost 76% of European shippers actually reported disruptions in 2024. In fact, found out that a single major disruption can cut into nearly half of companies' EBITDA, which is like really crazy. Labor shortages have been always there since COVID. They have been just compounding due to rising wages and, of course, onshore complexities. Another data suggests that it takes up to 40,000 US dollars in United States just to replace one skilled frontline worker. And we all know labor isn't just a technical issue, it's more like a strategic issue. And it's definitely responsible for squeezing the margins across stages from production to the final delivery. Coming to the customer expectations, customers today don't just want products, they demand visibility, sustainability, and seamless delivery. Yet, almost 94% of supply chain companies confirm that disruptions have already dented their revenue. Now, these are the realities which many of your peers are grappling with. Automation came in, but automation alone can't make the leap. Now, coming to the next one, why automation alone isn't enough. Automation gave efficiency, but of course, it didn't give the resilience until now. Supply chains have invested billions in ERPs, WMS, TMS, and layers of RPA and legacy bots. And yes, these tools definitely drove efficiency. But when we scratch beneath the surface, we still see persistent cracks out there. See, despite automation, critical errors like shipment delays, inventory mismatches, they are usually caught only when customer escalates it. Now, that's more like a reactive posture, and it damages trust for sure. Shipment tracking, you can say it is still reactive. A delay is only flagged after the fact, not before it hits the SLA. Inventory blind spots still remain. In fact, up to 30% of order exceptions stem from missing or incorrect inventory data. Forecasting still lags volatility. Demand shocks, weather disruptions, or in fact even geopolitical shifts quickly outpace rigid forecasting models. Now that's why leaders still find themselves reacting instead of anticipating. So yes, as I mentioned earlier, automation definitely gave us efficiency, but this efficiency is not same as resilience, adaptability, or in fact even intelligence. Now that's the gap that we'll address in the rest of this session. Coming to the very important topic out here, where does current automation programs fall short? Okay. Now here's the hard truth. Today's automation, it might seem very brilliant on the surface, it still falls short in key structural ways. See, you have fragile bots out there. Almost half of the RPA projects fail to scale, or in fact, they even break shortly after the launch. Now, these bots are brittle. Any change in an interface or data structure can derail them. For practitioners, it's not just inconvenience, I would say it's more like a liability. Exception handling. Humans still remain the muscle behind the trials, like switching to reactive firefighting rather than proactive management, as I mentioned in the previous slide. Siloed systems. Most solutions remain trapped in silos. ERP, WMS, TMS, career portals, all of them don't talk to each other in most of the cases. And without orchestration and unified intelligence, visibility still remains partial, delayed, and unreliable. That's a major issue. AI models are still trained on historical data. So they definitely excel at business as usual, but they still stumble badly during disruptions. For example, we have the example of a pandemic. We know about geopolitical shocks. A lot of them have been happening lately. In other words, the current automation programs are not intelligent. They are more like inflexible. So, as I mentioned in my previous slide, automation, of course, gave us efficiency, but it's not enough. So, next, we'll explore how a digital workforce can fill these gaps. And for that, I would like to call Mike to explain better about that. Mike, over to you.
Sure. Thank you. And thanks for that lead in. So, here at Accelerate slash Acceliops, we took a holistic look at some of the problems that was being faced within the supply chain industry. And not to backtrack and go through the other slides, but just one key point that I do want to touch on is a staggering stat that nearly half of all initiatives stall or fail to scale at some point through their journey, right? And when you do some systemic analysis, usually it's not just because of the tech, right? It's a combination of things. Um, and I think throughout the industry, the first investments that were made up until now are great, right? It's the platform for what's next. This next wave of investment, I think, is key to address some key points within the digital workforce. And those key points that I would say are a workforce that is AI driven. It can actually do decisions instead of avoiding exceptions. It can take on those exceptions and has a decision tree that can process those exceptions where a human would have had to take their time and do some human validation. It has self healing built in. You mentioned there's been a few examples where a fault happens and it could have been addressed after it was caught. With self healing, it's addressed real time without the need of a human, whether that human sits on a support team or on the business side. It's something that's built into the automation itself. And then transparency, right? Real time visibility through dashboards and other means of communication. Also, predictive alerts when there's certain thresholds that are met, not necessarily when something is broken, right? When there's a threshold being met, that maybe there is an opportunity for a human to come in and provide some type of analysis or assistance, we can address it proactively, correct? And then finally, using all of that data that's generated to continuously improve. And feeding that data into machine learning and feedback loops so that as time goes on, you're not repeating some of the things in the past. So in short, it's to me, it's not about replacing an application that you have today or replacing a business process that you have today. The framework is there. It's just a matter of unifying that framework and optimizing that framework so that it better suits the needs of today post that first wave of investment. So um, yeah, if let's see, we go to the next slide. So the answer is why, right? And I kind of touched on this. Thanks. So the answer is why, right? At the end of the day, I look at it like a digital force. It needs to be proactive, which was mentioned, and resilient by design. One of the things that we see on the operational side is there are certain constraints on the delivery side that may not necessarily have that much impact during delivery, but on the operational side they can, right? So we have the ability to understand when and where we can uh, optimize and update some of these processes that we see and make them more resilient by design. Also, another thing that, uh, from a why perspective, is we want to increase outcomes, right? The first wave of investment, there was some sizable ROI, right? Um, some of that ROI takes months and sometimes years. The thing that we're tackling now is we want to see definitive ROI within weeks and months. So to do that, you have to be adaptive and you have to evolve real time at the speed of business. So as we move on to the next one. All right. So which brings me back to Acceliops, right? And our core capabilities. End-to-end orchestration across multiple applications, ERP, WMS, and our TMS systems, AI-driven decisioning for exception handling, self-healing automation, and escalating to a human in the loop when needed, and then again, real-time dashboards, predictive alerts, and then finally, the feedback loop, continuous optimization uh, where possible. And we go to the next one.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah.
I believe now I would like to invite Mayur to take us more about this digital workforce concept from a technical point of view. So
Sure,
over to you,
sure.
Mayur.
Yeah. So thank you, Satvik. So I would like to start with the basic. Okay. So what does RPA actually brings to the supply chain? So first, it take care of all the repetitive high volume tasks that nobody really enjoys, right? Things like order entry, invoice processing, and shipment tracking. So by automating these, we not only save thousands of manual hours, but also we can dramatically reduce the errors. So second, RPA gives us round clock processing. Bots don't clock out at the 6 p.m., which means orders and update can flow 24 by 7. So speeding up cycle times and keeping customers happy is the main agenda for the supply chain automation. So third is scalability. Scalability is built in when during the peak season. Think Friday or end of the quarter rush. You can spin up robot pools instantly to handle the surge without any hiring the extra staff. The you can say you can save the hiring extra money to gives on the staff. So you can you can do the spin up robot pools instantly at that peak season. And perhaps the most important, RPA integrates directly with your existing ERP and WMS and TMS system. So you don't have to rip and replace what you already have. Automation work with your current landscape. So finally, by offloading clerical tasks, we give employees time to focus on value added work, analytic, planning, and decision making. So that's where real business transformation happens. And also it keeps a compliance ready with audit trails and informants of the enterprise policies. So now coming to the latest UiPath features. Okay, so first is UiPath AI Center. So UiPath AI Center, so what that works? So UiPath AI Center train and deploy and manage machine learning models right inside the RPA. Along with the RPA, it's totally focused on the machine learning and the RPA ecosystem. Second is document understanding, most important thing. So document understanding means bot can now process invoice, purchase order, and shipping document even when they are messy and unstructured. And the action center makes human approval seamless. So human and bots truly work side by side. Is it that good? So coming to the UiPath Insight. So UiPath Insight gives us predictive dashboard that flag SLA risks before they occur. And test suite also is there. Test suite ensure both stay resilient even when the ERP and WS system are upgraded. And the one thing is not the most important thing is it's a totally new features. It's a auto healing. Okay, so auto healing, imagine a bot that doesn't just fail silently but can detect the issue, retry, switch to backup method, and escalate when only absolute necessary. That's like having bots with built-in troubleshooting skills, reducing downtime, avoiding SLA bridges, and keeping process running 24 by 7 without constant human babysitting. So if the first half of the story is efficiency, the second half is about intelligence, resilience, and self-healing. So together, UiPath and Accelirate make supply chain not just automated, but adaptive, reliable, and future ready. So we have some use cases. So I was saying in my introduction, so I was working, recently we got one project is totally on the supply chain uh, domain. So I have some use cases, so I just wanted to show you. Yeah, the first use case is demand forecasting. So forecasting is the one of the toughest challenge in supply chain. Who are working in supply chain, they know very well. So it's a toughest challenge. Most organizations struggle to keep accuracy above 80%, which leads to either stockouts or excess inventory. So with our digital workflows, we bring AI powered adaptive planning. Bots automatically pull sales, promotion, weather, and our external signals, while machine learning ML model update forecast in real time. And UiPath Orchestrator make sure every SKU and every region is covered on schedule. And what is the impact? So the impact is forecast accuracy improve by 10 to 20 points. Mismatch costs are reduced and planners spend less time to chasing data and more time to making strategic decision. So that's the most important thing of the RPA and UiPath. So this is how it works. Data comes in from ERP and external resources, model generate new forecast, and bot publish those forecasts back to ERP and MRP system. When big challenge occur, planners are notified to review in action center. If any step fails, self-healing kicks in. Means self the main role of the self-healing will start. So as I said, what is the this is a totally new feature, auto healing and self-healing. So it automatically both retry that failed transaction, switch to backup model, and escalate only when they needed. They will not escalate if they are handling the by their own. They will only escalate when necessary. So that's the use case one, demand forecasting. Let's come to the use case number two. It's a inventory management. So carrying too much inventory trips up working capital, while too little inventory creates stockouts and unhappy customers. So many organizations also struggle with the poor SQ and DC coverage. So our approach is not replace your ERP. Is enhancement with the automation. ERP and WMS, we can enhancement with the automation. So both reconcile stock levels, match invoices, and flag discrepancies. So AI agent highlight like shrinkage or slow movers. So that shrinkage and slow mover can highlight by the AI. So whichever we can train our ML model, machine learning model, so they can capture the shrinkage and slow movers as well. That's really really amazing thing in RP. And this impact is really huge. Inventory accuracy is improved beyond 95%. Can you believe beyond 95% millions are saved in the working capital? So most of the organizations struggling with that inventory accuracy, so that will improve beyond 95%. And clerical work equivalent to 100 FTE, that all are already are eliminated. So that's the inventory management. So here is the data flow. Data flows in from ERP and WMS. Both checks and reconcile balances and replacement suggestion are generated automatically. Exception means error. Exception like missing or lock record are handled smartly with retries, delays, and alternate data path. Orchestrator queue, your path orchestrator queue makes sure that high value SQL stock keeping unit are prioritized. And at the end of the day, managers see clean dashboard with the accuracy matrices and compliance ready for audit trails. So that's a really amazing thing into the inventory management.
Maya, I got a question for you. So
Yeah,
looking at this flow, right? This is the newest flow when it comes to augmenting our workforce with AI agents, right?
correct.
Previously, when a bot performed a reconciliation and variance check, if there was a variable missing or if there was new data that was requested on behalf of the client to input there, what would have happened?
Okay, so here that's a really good question, Mike. So here, so if there are some client's approval needed or client information needed, so here the action center comes. So what will do action center? So action center pause that process. So pause that process. So it will not, it will only for that particular transaction. It will that pause that process. If the information comes, the client approval comes from that, then the action center process that particular transaction. So they will not wait for the other transaction also, other transaction also going ahead. So it will pause only that one transaction, so it will not impacted on other transaction. So that's the smartest thing in the RPA. The action center the works when the approval is needed, when the human intervention is needed, and that pause for the process particular, that process will pause. Other things are processing that we don't need the approval from the customers. So that's the thing in RPA we can do with the help of Action Center.
So with that process or that sub process that you just described, that sounds like that would have been something that was done manually in the past, right? And
Right,
as a
right.
result of that manual action, going back to the first couple of slides,
Hmm.
that could cause a negative impact to the business process itself. So I think
Correct.
this is a clear example of that next wave of investment that can really fortify the business process as a whole.
Yes, yes, yes. That's the that's the Action Center. That's the RPS beauty is there. So if there are human intervention is needed first, in earlier that will totally stuck. Total stock is stuck because of the waiting for the approval needed. But here we can only pause that particular transaction, so it will reduce totally manual works. So that's the beauty of the RPA and your path Action Center.
Got it. Thanks for that clarification.
Yeah. Thank you, Mike. So coming to the order processing. So order processing is the, you can say, the lifeblood of the supply chain. Yet it often break down due to system and manual system. So you can say the manual steps. So this leads to the error, SLA bridges, and but obvious, and at the customer will frustrated. So while our digital workforce, orders from email, portals, or EDI are captured automatically, and AI extract and validate that data. Both post the order into ERP and invoices are generated instantly, totally within a second. So exception, here is the exception come like missing field or credit hole are routed to action center or quick review. So Mike, earlier I was saying, so there are some errors, there are some information are the missing. For example, the count is missing, the count is not correct, and the credit is need to hold. So here the action center comes. So action, that particular transaction routed to action center, and that transaction keeps hold. And for the quick review, after reviewing that, it will proceed. So it will save all the time, it will save many and reduce error as well. The result is the 95% order are auto resolved with the human touch. SLA bridges drop by 90%, and customer get faster confirmation. So that's the good thing for the order processing. So here is the workflow. So intake from multiple channels, orchestrator queues handled by the load. Bots validate and enrich the data. So ERPA posting happens automatically, as I said. If there are some issue occur, such as system latency, or you can say the data mismatches, so bot retry with the help of the auto healing and escalate to the particular escalate to the actually ops of particular organization with the full context. So manage can see exactly where every order stand in real time. So with the help of RPA, with the help of action center, with the help of auto healing, so earlier we can exactly detect why they failed, why that error occurred. Earlier what say, for each error we can go through the thousand of application, thousand of transaction. But with the help of RPA, we can detect particular error within a low time, instantly. So that's the order processing use case. Last but not least is a it's the most important, it's a shipment tracking.
So you've mentioned Action Center a couple of times. Can we clarify, is that a standard capability or feature within Orchestrator itself, or does that require additional licensing?
So see, for example, let's take one example. So particular some of the transaction need some approval, that credit need to be held by the vendor,
Mhm.
and it is not mentioned in the application. So that need to under review. Okay, for the review we need to contact to vendor. So without vendor contact we can go through that process, that transaction. So in that particular information we need from the vendor, and it goes under the review. So in action center there is a features that comes under the review, and we can hold that particular transaction, and with all the information we can go through the that particular transaction.
Got it.
So last is shipment tracking workflow. So shipment tracking is a huge time drain, 3 to 5 minutes per shipment. Okay. So after adding up to the 20 to 40 hours wasted every day because of this 3 to 5 minute per ship minute taking time for the shipment. Customer also get frustrated when update are delayed or missing. With the automation, shipment updates are pulled automatically from carriers, reconcile with the ERP, and proactive alerts are sent to both customer and internal teams. Means both are updated. Like latest Amazon app, we can say we got also alert when where is my shipment. So in the supply chain with the automation, we can enable the alert. So both are the parties are up to date. So AI predicts like delays such as customer issues and notifies stakeholders early. So the result are really impressive. Processing time is 65% faster. Exception are resolved, error are resolved 40% quicker, and the entire tracking process becomes compliance ready. So the shipment workflow both fetch the tracking data from carriers, orchestrator manage queues and retry, and add ERP are updated in real time. So predictive AI catches problem early and trigger alerts. So if a carrier portal is down, so if sometimes the carrier portal is down, the system retries automatically. For example, there are some portals are down and it goes to the error. So that error retries automatically. So whenever the portal is up, so it retries automatically and it will proceed that transaction. So and it switches to API. The business benefit is the faster update, better SLA performance, and lower support overhead. So our boat don't take coffee break, don't get tired, and definitely don't complain about the late night bad jobs. So they just keep the supply chain running smoothly with UiPath and Acceliops. So we are building operations that are fast, accurate, and maybe even smarter than us humans. So
That definitely
that's it
sounds
with the use case.
that really sounds interesting, Mayur. Thanks a lot for taking us through what is possible to do in terms of digital workforce and how is UiPath paving the path for all the supply chain uh, organizations in making that digital boom of digital workforce happen. Now, Mike, why don't you take us around where does Acceliops stand in terms of this whole digital workforce ecosystem for supply chain, and how does Acceliops collaborates with UiPath in making this dream a reality? Over to you, Mike.
Sure. So traditionally, what our service is we're a production service operation, right? And we inject a couple of things, all in the name of improving, as we see here on the slide, compliance, smart routing, the ability to be more reliable, uh, transparency, and better decision making. We believe that's all part of the governance layer. And what that looks like now versus some of your traditional approaches, typically ERP or WMS systems only cover a small percentage of processes. With us involved, that coverage expands to a much larger percentage, northward of up to 90%. Again, one of the things that you're hearing, quite throughout this whole dialogue is how much quicker you will start to see, a return on investment. In the past, that was could stretch out for a year and a half, right? With us, you can see that much more quickly, in months, sometimes weeks, depending on the frequency of the process. Um, Also, SLA breaches are much less frequent with us being involved, because of the transparency that we can inject within the business process itself. We have the ability to work with our clients so that they can see more inventory, more accuracy of that inventory, and able to manipulate and move that inventory according to the speed of business. And then also, finally, is our service is much more proactive, right? We're there, we're engaged. We're not just waiting for someone on the business side to let us know that there's an issue. We're involved in the process. We're involved in the output of the process, so that it's a win-win for the not only the client but for us as well.
That sounds interesting.
Hmm.
So that also brings us an end to our today's session. Thank you, Mike and Mayur, for all the incredible insights. And of course, thank you to everyone in the audience for joining us today and being patient with us and listening to all of us and all the futuristic talks that we did today. Now, if I can summarize, if there is one key takeaway from this discussion, it's that while automation gave supply chains the efficiency, but today the real opportunity now lies in creating resilient and intelligent operations through digital workforces.
Correct.
The shift towards self-driving supply chain is not a distant future now. It's happening right away. And the organizations that start building intelligence into their systems today will be the ones that will lead tomorrow.
Correct.
So, yeah, I would encourage all of you to continue this conversation with us, with our experts, Mike, Mayur. You can just see the QR codes here. You can pretty much scan the QR codes. You can connect with us out there on LinkedIn, start a conversation, and let's build more resilient supply chains together. So, on behalf of all of the panel, thank you once again for all of your time and engagement. Wishing you success as you explore your path towards smarter and more resilient supply chains. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.